Hi everyone. A bit of change of scenario today. I am in Barangaroo area in Sydney. We are meeting today on the land of the Gadigal people of Euro Nation, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. My guest today is Nelson De Silva, Sales Engineering Manager for Australia and New Zealand at Zscaler. Welcome, Nelson, to All About Data, and thank you for hosting us in this beautiful venue.
No worries, thanks for coming.
So as we start the conversation, would you be able to share with us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Sure. So as mentioned, I lead the pre-sales engineering team at Zscaler for Australia and New Zealand. I've been with Zscaler a little over 4 years. So it's been a great journey being able to watch the company grow, watch the team here in Australia and New Zealand grow along with it as well. I first started my journey into cyber, as we know today, with getting my CISSP done back in 2001, which is quite interesting because cyber wasn't really a thing back in those days. A lot of people were really looking at driving IT, and IT for most companies was really a cost center in most cases, and there wasn't much of a focus on data as we know today.
Yeah, you touched on some really good points, right? 2001 seems like a long time ago, but not a long time ago. No, I'm with you. But also, cybersecurity. I'm a network engineer, and until about a decade ago, it was more as part of the network engineering team to set up firewalls. Cybersecurity as we know it didn't exist as it is right now. But also the point around IT that's seen as a business unit that's a cost center rather than business generating right now is, and security plays such an important role such that your IT is empowered and they're empowering the businesses. Because security, when the solutions and products and services are secure, there's trust, right? There's trust from the market, there's trust from your customers, partners, which means you're acquiring new customers, retaining them, right? So that fantastic start to our conversation. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us about your journey? What is your role like? Like, I'm a pre-sales engineer and you're a pre-sales manager, so we're on a very similar sort of realm there. Tell us a bit about.
Well, it didn't start out that way. So I joined as an individual contributor for Zscaler. Originally, it was the first architecture role they had for someone in ANZ. So I first came on board in that respect. So I had some previous experience managing teams, and then there was an opportunity to where I was asked to help coach and mentor some of the team, and that led to an opportunity for a leadership role, which I was like, all right. At that time, I was happy to go back in that space, back into a leadership role. So doing that now for a few years now. And
you enjoying it?
Yes, it's great. It's certainly one of the things that I've always enjoyed in the past. Like, I used to play a lot of team-based sports, and there's even a lot of people I've spoken to externally that originally, coming from an individual contributor role, it's very hard to see that point where you're in that converting from a player to more that player coach type style. And that's something I certainly enjoy, like watching someone grow, getting better over time. Getting them to expand their pathways as well, from not just from a professional point of view, but also a self-development point of view. It's a big focus for me and for my team to make sure that they're trying to follow as much as they can a bit of a growth mindset for self-improvement.
Growth mindset. I love growth mindset, and I like what you've said around almost like a serving leadership mentality. Right? Like, it's not about you; it's about your team. But also, I guess that then extends to the wider customers that you serve, because you're coming in as a trusted advisor and helping them grow and enjoy the journey. Right?
Hopefully, I think for a lot of our customer engagements, the journey's a little bit different. I think there's a lot of organizations I've worked with that are very mature on that front and already know what they want, where other ones probably need a little bit more help along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Variety always keeps things interesting, isn't it? So thank you for sharing about you, your journey, and
Yep.
what you're up to today. That's amazing to hear. Tell us a little bit about Zscaler.
Sure.
So I'll tell you, I did a little bit of research, and I know Zscaler stands, is zenith of scalability.
Yeah.
So I know that one, and there's a big focus on zero trust. But tell us more about all the good stuff.
Sure. So probably a big part of the reason why I'm here is probably because of our founder and CEO, Jay Chaudhry, who's still with the company today. And that's something that's always driven a lot of my passion for companies I'm working with, is working with companies that still have the founder that is involved in the business. And Jay at the time had a number of other successful businesses he's experienced in the past. But with Zscaler, it's a little bit different. So it was founded in 2007. And if you look back at that time, it was probably, this when the first iPhone was first launched.
Okay.
Back in those days, and or iPad, and it was a big trigger point for him realizing that businesses are going to be significantly changing how they're operating. People are going to become a lot more mobile. People are going to be fixed back into the office. So how do we scale? How does a business scale for that scenario or that eventuality when people are going to be, you're going to have large companies with large number of employees, but also a large number of locations that they're actually individually working from.
Absolutely.
So with him and some co-founders, they looked at focusing on solving for that problem, which like a lot of problems you're looking to solve at that point are really tying into what we know as elements of zero trust today, which is really fascinating, right? They're going down this path without knowing necessarily the destination. They're looking to just solve some business problems, which tie in really well to zero trust today.
I guess there's a journey where you look at one problem at a time and you solve it and you're going along the way. And then there's a visionary to kind of say, hey, there's a bigger problem, and it's not just for one organization or one scenario, but we can actually solve this, perimeter castle and moat sort of structure to anybody can work anytime, anywhere, and they could be accessing anything in our internal network, right? But also, how do we monitor those endpoints when they're not in your trusted network? That's a really, really fascinating sort of journey, and I guess company, Zscaler are focusing on that. So that's really cool. Tell us, we are on a platform where we talk all about data. So it is a bit about data. Tell us a bit about what you do in the data space.
So this is it's something that was raised by our customers very early on in terms of how we're operating. Because for how we operate as a cloud or a SaaS service, for a lot of organizations, you're like, well, wait a minute, you're holding on to my data. We have data residency, data control, data sovereignty issues associated with that. How are you protecting us from a data sovereignty point of view? How do I make sure that the information that might be flowing through Zscaler to cloud isn't being collected or in some way, shape, or form? So that was a big part of the architecture early on, to make sure that we're solving for that data sovereignty issue of we're not holding that data to a large extent. We may be collecting metadata or kind of like data about the data to a certain extent, but it's something we empower, we give our customers full control over what's being viewed, what's being made visible, but also protecting it in such a way that helps solve that sovereignty issue. So if an Australian organization may have a user in Singapore, how do we make sure that there may not be the data center for Zscaler in Singapore is not necessarily exposing that user data, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. This is really interesting conversation for me, because NetApp, we are a data authority, we are where data sits, whereas you provide security, a layer of security, but then you don't touch the data, you don't want the customer's data. Whereas our case, our platform is where data sits, and to Zscaler's focus around scalability of your customers, our values are simplicity, flexibility, and security as well. But even in that layered security approach, you will be, with the zero trust coming in, going out, and all of that. But NetApp is, we see what is happening to the actual data. So it's the last line of defense. Like, we're almost an insurance provider. Like, if anything kind of doesn't work as it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Along that layered approach with the last line of defense,
Yeah.
right? So this is a really interesting conversation, and for our customers as well. It's not, there's no silver bullet, right? You gotta work with a lot of different sort of service providers and their products, and kind of put it together so it makes sense for them at that specific time, right? So really good conversation, Nelson. Thank you for that overview of yourself and Zscaler and what you do as well. So what is the last point that you want to leave our audience with today?
Sure. So probably for those that are looking to adopt or starting to dip their toes into the zero trust space, probably a big point, and for many organizations it's already well understood that it is very much a journey, but especially for people that are going down the path of zero trust, it is very much a journey. Definitely look at parallels for other industries when you're going down that path. So for example, from healthcare, looking at mining, or even in some instances gambling organizations, there are lots of parallels, especially from an OT security point of view.
Yes, absolutely.
So don't look at it so inward and looking at solving your own problems. There's plenty of examples, and there's plenty of conversations I've been able to help cross-pollinate on that front. They've been very helpful for organizations.
Well, that's such an amazing point, right? And so necessary for people to understand, and customers and businesses to understand that there might be other people doing the same thing on the same journey, or actually already completed that journey. What can we learn? Because security is top of mind. There's a lot of technologies. What makes sense for that kind of customer in that space at that point in time, right? So that's fantastic. Thank you so much again, Nelson, for being on All About Data, and I'm ready to go for a coffee now.
Thanks, Barsha.